Good evening. This is the Ridgewood Village Council Public Workshop. The date is June 9th, 2025. The time is 7:30. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled the same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilmember Mortimer,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Perrin,
Here.
Councilmember Whites,
He will be arriving late.
Councilmember Winograd,
Here.
Mayor Vagianos.
Here, will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? And let's go right to public comment.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Jerry DeAndrea, what,
Is that loud enough?
340 North Van Deen.
Good evening, Jerry.
Good evening, everyone. I need some help with something. I have one handout. If you don't mind, I can hand it, and
Bring it up.
you can see what I'm talking about. So I live across the street from Benjamin Franklin Middle School. The handout that I'm providing is I have a fire hydrant just left of my driveway, and whenever Benjamin Franklin has an event, people take it upon themselves to basically block not only my driveway, but park in front of the fire hydrant. The first two images on the handout that I provided shows the top one is from Beverly, right across the street from the high school, and then I believe it's from the Board of Education building right across the street. It seems the standard is a yellow line is painted in front of the fire hydrant. I believe what happened, and I'm in the town 30 years, I believe what happened, the road was recently paved a few years ago, and the lines were never restriped. That's what I think anyway. I'm not sure about that. If you look at the other pictures on the next two pages, you can see how the cars are blocking in the fire hydrant, as well as, you know, it's a busy street, right? What I'm asking for, is there any way that someone could look into this, and if it's possible to paint the yellow line in front of that fire hydrant, I would appreciate it. Hopefully that would be a little bit more of a deterrent to prevent people from parking, and it's a safety thing, right? Parking in front of the fire hydrant.
Gotcha.
All right. Would somebody be able to contact me back to at least, I know that it's being looked at?
If you give your cell number to Keith Kasmark, he will coordinate with you, and we will take care of that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, so much
Thank
for
you
your
for coming
time.
to let us know.
Have a wonderful night.
Have a good evening.
Good evening. Ellie Gruber, Ridgewood resident. This is really addressed to the mayor. I got a letter the other day, and it says current resident or Eleanor Gruber. Usually I dump these letters, but then it said important letter from Mayor Paul Vagianos. So I figured it was important, so I opened it. And to my disappointment, it was a letter signed by you as mayor, urging people to vote for Democratic candidates, and the letter was paid for by the Democratic Committee of Bergen County. It's not illegal, but it certainly is not kosher. We have a nonpartisan form of government. That applies to our elections. It is wonderful that once in a while I can attend a meeting and I don't have Republicans and Democrats sniping at each other, but all working together for the good of the village. And you have done a disservice by publicly sending to every resident a letter urging them to vote for 3 candidates that you support. You want to do it as a citizen? You want to send a letter as a private citizen? Go right ahead, everyone else does it. But I really think that you should not do it again, and no one should do it as a member of the council. It's really not nice. It's not kosher even, I may say. Anyway, thank you.
Ellie, would you give me that letter? Because at the end, I want to respond and I want to quote from the letter. Thank you. I did. Thank you so much, and I'll return it to you.
Good evening, Ann Loving, Ridgewood resident. Thank you, my neighbor and friend Eleanor, for what you just said, and I want to address the same thing. This weekend, my husband and I, like many people, although I believe just registered Democrats, received a letter, the outside of which announced it was an important letter from Mayor Paul Vagianos. On the inside, it was signed by Paul Vagianos, Mayor, Village of Ridgewood. One would certainly think that the content would have to do with local Ridgewood matters, but this was completely not the case. Mr. Vagianos' letter implored us to vote for Democratic candidates of his choice for county commissioner. The mayor knows full well that we have a nonpartisan form of government. Using your position and title to do this is completely wrong. You could have sent this letter out, as Eleanor said, and simply signed it from Paul Vagianos, but not included your title, and certainly not included on the outside that it was an important message from the mayor. Frankly, this is similar to when Mr. Gottheimer was in the room at one point, and you announced that our next governor was in the room. Seriously, you need to stop this. We had another Paul that sat up there a few years ago that basically introduced partisan politics into this non-partisan room. It needs to stop. We all have our party affiliations, but here in this room, we're supposed to respect the fact that it's nonpartisan. On another note, completely unrelated, June is Pride Month, in which love of all types is celebrated. In the middle of Pride Month comes Juneteenth, which is Emancipation Day. And thanks to the strong voices of Boyd Loving, Jacqueline Hone, and some others, it seems that the village has taken note that June 19th should be respected as a holiday, and unrelated meetings and events should not be taking place. I thank them for their voices. But also in June is another date, June 12th. It's not a federal, state, or county holiday, but it's widely known as Loving Day. This is the date when, in 1967, the Supreme Court ruled that interracial marriage is legal. Prior to that, in some states, people could be thrown into jail for marrying the person they loved. Richard and Mildred Loving of Virginia loved each other. They married, they had children, and they were thrown in jail for doing that. Thankfully, their case was heard by the Supreme Court after quite a struggle, and since then, people are free to marry, regardless of the amount of melanin in their skin. I'm not suggesting that this should be a holiday in this town, but I am proposing that in future years, a resolution might be read honoring Loving Day. You read resolutions in favor of many, many worthy causes, and this would be one to add to the books. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Anybody else? Seeing no one, and we have no one on hybrid access, I'm going to close public comment. I'm going to begin by addressing the concerns about the letter that I wrote. And I'm going to just read one paragraph of the letter. As mayor, I've worked closely with our Bergen County commissioners on issues large and small. From paving Ridgewood's roads, to money for lights at Vets Field, to helping us get sidewalks built for kids walking to school. Tom, Mary, and Jermaine have been our partners in helping us here in the village whenever we need them. They are only a phone call away, and they always pick up the phone to help us get things done for our residents. And that's why I sent the letter. They are our partners. We need them. They help us. And in fact, there's going to be an announcement about something that they helped us on just this week. Having them there means a lot to the residents of this village because everyone is not so responsive. And as far as Josh Gottheimer is concerned, Josh Gottheimer brought the Army Corps of Engineers here to address a flooding issue that not only has been plaguing us for a long, long time, it's only getting worse. These are the people that I support because they support our village. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans. By the way, by the way, I have said incredibly wonderful things in this room about our Republican legislators. Kristen Corrado, Krista Phillips, and Al Barlas, because they are always here for us. I'm saying it loud and proud. I don't care what party anybody's from. I support the people who support this village and who are always there for us. So I have just come out and said, yeah, I like these Democrats, I like these Republicans. I don't really care what party they're from. I care that when we call, they come to help us. Anybody else want to address any of the concerns raised tonight?
Can I just get those photos returned
Absolutely.
so that I can send them to Signal to have that striped?
Anybody else? No? Let's go to our regular agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the manager's report tonight, first I want to report that the engineering department has been working to launch our 2025 road resurfacing and improvement program this summer. We're looking to break ground this month, which much of the work being completed while school is out. We held a resident meeting on May 29th with the residents of Beverly Road and Hermance Place near Ridgewood High School. Engineering is looking to develop a turnabout at that corner to improve traffic safety and provide better access for emergency vehicles. We had a good discussion with the residents, and with some minor tweaks to the plan, the residents are in support of the project. I'd like to thank Dr. Schwartz from the school district and the other representatives from the Board of Education who were present at that meeting. This project will commence this summer as well. My office and engineering also met with the residents on Hammond Road, where we're planning to add curbs, and walked Phelps Road last week, where we're designing a change to eliminate the cut-through on that roadway. Our state aid project this year is South Pleasant Street between Euston and Grove, and the county is also planning to pave North Maple from the Glen Rock border to the Hohokus border. The county is also designing the repaving of Van Edberg and from Washington Township to Route 17 and Prospect Street from North Maple to the village line. Dates for those projects will be forthcoming from the county. As has been reported previously, Beth McManus, our affordable housing planner, has been working to meet all deadlines for the fourth round obligation. The draft plan was submitted to the County Planning Board and the State Office on Planning Advocacy last week, and this will be heard by the Planning Board here in Ridgewood on June 12th. The Historic Sites Council meeting to hear the Zabriskie-Shedler application, which was initially scheduled for June 19th, a date in which the state is open, is being rescheduled to a new date, likely in July, due to the holiday on June 19th. The application is available in full for review on the village websites. A few good news items. One, I received notification on Friday from the New Jersey Department of Health that both the Enhancing Local Public Health Infrastructure Grant and the Sustaining Local Public Health Infrastructure Grant, which had previously been suspended by the administration in Washington, D.C., has been reinstated. The Health Department indicated that funding previously cut is now available, and this is a result of the May 16th, 2025 federal court action, which provided a preliminary injunction against HHS for the funding cuts. So as of now, the $169,000 that we were set to lose has been essentially freed up for use by Ridgewood, and I am working with Dawn and our CFO, Bob Bruni, to enable those monies to be spent during this year. And lastly, as the mayor alluded to earlier, we spoke at a prior council meeting about a $70,000 grant through Bergen County. This is a federal grant for the installation of hearing loops in this room, downstairs in the senior lounge, and in the youth lounge. With incredible turnaround time, I have to tell you, you don't usually hear back on grants this quickly. But we received communication from County Executive Tedesco and the Bergen County Board of Commissioners today, actually about 5 o'clock this afternoon, that our DDHH Communication Access Grant has been accepted for final award in an amount not to exceed $70,000. So Carol Belkowski, our Communications Director, will be working to consummate the contracts and the budget negotiations relative to this grant, and we're hopeful that we can install this equipment in all 3 rooms sometime this summer. A few announcements. Graydon Pool is now open daily from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. through Labor Day. As a result as a reminder, the 2-day per week irrigation schedule is now in effect with Ridgewood Water. Odd-numbered addresses for irrigation are Tuesday and Saturday, and even-numbered addresses for irrigation are Wednesday and Sunday. No irrigation is allowed on Monday, Thursday, or Friday. Please remember, if it's raining, turn off your sprinklers. And we are also going to be working with the 4 fire chiefs in the 4 service area towns that Ridgewood Water works in to put out some public service announcements. Right now, we seem to be in a rainy pattern, and that's a good thing because we were in a drought pattern not that long ago. But as we turn into the summer months, we expect to have periods of dryness. And the fire departments, especially relative to what happened in Los Angeles and the brush fires that we experienced even here in New Jersey last year, there's a real concern. So our 4 fire chiefs in Wyckoff, Midland Park, Glen Rock, and here in Ridgewood are going to be putting out PSAs to better inform residents about making sure that we do conserve water, especially in light of a possible emergency. The Ridgewood Guild is sponsoring Music in the Night for the 14th season and will provide music in various locations on Friday night downtown through Labor Day. The primary election is tomorrow, June 10th. Polls will open at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. The Ridgewood Guild is sponsoring Free Movies in the Park Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. at Van Ness Square from June 11th through August 20th. The Village of Ridgewood and all offices will be closed on Thursday, June 19th in observance of the Juneteenth holiday, and the recycling center will also be closed. There'll be no curbside pickup refuse that week. And finally, Village Council upcoming meetings. June 11th is a public meeting. June 25th is the work session. And then we go into 2 meetings a month in July, with July 2nd being a work session and July 9th being a public meeting. All meetings will start at 7:30 p.m. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. Let's go to council reports. Siobhan?
Sure. So I have several. So on Saturday, we had the lovely event with Pride, and I want to thank the Pride Committee, the Ridgewood Guild, Mayor Paul, and everybody up here who took part in it. It was lovely, and this year was bigger and better because with partnering with the Guild, we had a marketplace. So there was commerce, there was music, it went on all day, and I'm sure it took a lot of work, but it came off looking effortlessly, and thank you to the community and everybody who made that happen. I believe this is the 7th year running, which is a total compliment, and I hope everybody celebrates Pride this month. Last week on Tuesday, we had a Fields Committee meeting at the Board of Ed. It was a rather long meeting with a lot of discussion on how the weather has impacted fields. The organization that has had the most cancellation is Girls Flag Football. 50% of their games have been canceled, and they're all using alternative sites outside of the district. We're going to have some more announcements on some great accomplishments from the sports community on Wednesday, but a lot of the coaches are being honored and really hitting at the high school a lot of milestone achievements. This weekend is the Father's Day Maroon Tournament, and we had a long discussion about the complex at BF Middle School, because this is a joint committee between Board of Ed and the village. There's been a long-standing discussion of what to do when it floods. The Board of Ed has hired an architectural firm to assess whether or not BF could be made into a full-size field, and that presentation was set to occur but didn't. Because of that, and because it's so important for long-term planning on that side of fields, as well as what we're going to do if there's another hurricane. The Fields Committee will be meeting, typically we don't meet in July and August, so we will be meeting the first Tuesday in August. It will be hybrid, and the Board of Ed is going to release the letter, so everybody should typically we say we're off for the summer, but we're not off for the full summer. We're just off for July. I briefly wanted to echo Keith and say, everybody, when you clap, sign language, it's this. I've never seen a grant come so quickly, and I'm forever grateful to the county, because while Ridgewood did a bulk of the writing, the county actually had to apply for us, and that'll make the hearing in the senior center. I'm going to point to Ellie within the League of Women Voters. It'll be so enhanced. I'm so proud of our village staff, and I'm so grateful to our friends at the county and the Access Committee who literally danced on top of a pin to make this happen. And she's not here, but I'm going to wave to where she was, to Carol, who really presented it and made it so great. So thank you to everybody. I also want to say thank you to Frank and Parks and Bee City, because for the first time ever, Mulch Monday has picked up a corporate sponsor to come and not just give us money, but help us mulch. So we all got a note. We get these notes like, oh, we want a day of service. And I said, we'll take it for Mulch Monday. So Mulch Monday is the day where we go in and help maintain the tree wells within the Central Business District. And we may have 80 volunteers, if you can imagine. It's all due to our Bee City status, Tree City status, and so that is very, very exciting. Also last week, Ellie, I'm waving in your direction a lot. We had the unique opportunity to again show the Shedler House to newcomers. Newcomers needed a venue for their party, and we opened it back up. They have a new executive board, and Pam and I went over. We showed it. It's not going to work because the hardscaping's not there, but there was a lot of interest in having the house open and for public use, and it was actually a very lovely, beautiful day. The house looked great, and there were babies in the house, and it was wonderful to even explore the possibility. They went elsewhere simply because of the hardscaping, but that was very exciting. And if any member of the public is thinking about viewing the house, we want to open it up. We want to show it to as many people, because now when it's sunny, it's a great time to see it. And then a couple last minute reminders, okay? So tomorrow is the primary. I would encourage everybody who's affiliated with the party to go out and vote. But if you have a graduating senior in your house, this is the perfect time to discuss getting a mail-in ballot before they go to school and then they get in the time crunch of I need it. So voting will be discussed a lot tomorrow for those who are participating, but this is the perfect time if you're thinking of going away to school, or you have somebody in your house, or you're preparing a graduation gift. Remind those young people to register to vote for their mail-in ballots, because that's probably the best way for them. And lastly, I want to wish everybody up here, out there, and in the whole community a happy Father's Day. I hope everybody does something special, and if your father's not with you, I hope you find a way to honor him. Thanks.
Thank you, Siobhan. Before we go to Frank, I just want to say Evan was attending an Eagle Scout Court of Honor on behalf of the council, and he gave a certificate to the Eagle Scout, and that's why he just walked in now. So he covered that for us.
Thank you, Paul, for letting everybody know I had a really good excuse for being late.
Yep. Where's the note? Oh, never mind. It's okay. We'll get it later. Frank.
Yes, well, Siobhan, thanks for letting me know that Mulch Monday will be buzzing thanks to Bee City.
By the way, when she said it, she said, our Bee City. I thought she said obesity. Maybe when we get the mics fixed. It's better.
I was just, I don't have any reports of any meetings because Arts Council is tonight, and we have this instead. But I did want to say is, we're probably all going to say that Pride was awesome to attend on Saturday, which just made me so proud to be part of Ridgewood, and just to see the inclusiveness and just how many great performers were there. And then the Guild did a wonderful job with the marketplace. Also that, as I continue to say, that being on Citizen Safety Advisory Committee has been great, probably one of the best parts of being on the council, and to start seeing results has been phenomenal. We now have the big stop signs put on the street at Kenilworth and Laurel, which I think will really help. And we're just looking forward to all the other improvements we're going to do with citizen safety for pedestrian safety. And that's pretty much it, Paul.
Great. Thanks, Frank. Evan, just in time.
I know, not much. I have the same, I guess, problem, Frank, that you do. Historical Preservation Committee's meeting across the hall. July 4th Committee's meeting tonight as well. I'm missing both to be here. Actually, I was quadruple booked, and as Paul said, was at an Eagle ceremony just a couple minutes ago. Just want to publicly congratulate Nathan Fenster, one of our Ridgewood's own, made Eagle Scout tonight. Really wonderful event. I was happy to be a part of it.
Thanks, Ev, and thanks for covering that for us tonight. Pam?
Okay, I have a lot to talk about. Pride, for starters. It was all about music, and the mayor gave a wonderful welcome address.
Yeah.
In this time, it's so important to recognize people's dignity and right to love who they love, and it's all happening here at the local level. And I'm very proud of our town for that reason. And thanks to whoever put up the tents, because it rained hard. Also, the library had its annual English as a Second Language celebration. And boy, those people are really creative. I know they're learning to speak English, but I didn't realize they're also writing poetry. And so, and they spoke very well, and it was a really nice celebration. This is where we bring people from 35 different countries together. And so thank you to the library for being that hub in our community. Yes, as Keith mentioned, the planning board is having a special public meeting to go, and we will have a presentation from our affordable housing consultant about the draft housing plan. And park walks, the open space park walks have been happening, and I was glad to be able to give one at Habernickel Park last weekend. It did rain, so the 8 people who came out for the tour were the hardy. And Music in the Park has started. That's every Saturday night in Van Nest Square. Thank you to Andy Meyer for organizing it. And this will be every Saturday night, 7:30 to 9:30 at Van Nest Square, weather permitting. And these musicians are so eager to play, they're playing for free. So take advantage of these wonderful opportunities. Though I will say that at the Graydon Pool opening day for seniors, there were more people who got up on their feet among those seniors to dance. And so I just want to see more dancing, wherever. And for the opening day brunch at Graydon, I want to thank the Community Center, Deanna Shablik, and all the volunteers, including the teenagers. Let's see. Oh, another great event, the Secret Gardens tour yesterday was just delightful. There were 10 houses in Ridgewood and Hohokus that invited the public into their backyards to see what they've been able to grow, and the bird houses, and just it was really wonderful. They do it every 2 years, so 2 years from now, put that on your June calendar. Paul and I also went to the Board of Ed's State of the Schools address, and we couldn't stay for the whole thing, but it was interesting to see how they are dealing with the distribution of elementary school children on the west side, because they are having a problem at Ridge School. And so they are doing everything they can. That was clear. They understand the parents' concerns, and they're working on it. Green Ridgewood met last week, and a lot of our discussion was about the Columbia University Graduate School students coming from their climate school to do this summer. Their capstone project will be looking at the Saddle River Park path that goes through 6 towns and has been subject to flooding, erosion, and all kinds of problems. And so they're going to be assessing the problems and making recommendations as to maintenance and sustainability. Green Ridgewood also has its new website up and running, and it's beautiful just to look at. The pictures are wonderful, but you can also learn a lot and get a lot of hints and information about how to set up a rain barrel, how to dig a rain garden, how to conserve water. There are just lots of action items you can take. You can follow the native planting guidelines in Project 1,000 Acres. So I urge you to take a look at that website. Next, the Central Business District Advisory Committee meets this Thursday. It's a little wrong on the website. It says we meet by Zoom. This particular meeting is going to be in person in the senior lounge on the first floor. We'll be having two presentations, one by Carol Bialkowski, our Communications and Special Projects Director, regarding the new bus shelter. And the other presentation is by two high school students who have been very enterprising and have various ideas for the downtown that they want to share with us. Our July meeting for CBDAC will be a happy hour. And then in August, we will not be meeting. And let's see, what else? That's it.
Thank you, Pam.
Wait, Pam, Paul, can I just, I want to send our intern to your July meeting, but she's 21, so she can come, which is great. So we have to circle back on that.
So I actually have several things I want to talk about tonight, and the first being Pride Day. First, the two village staff members from the Signal Department, Luke Iorio and Ryan Abamont, were stellar. They scrambled to get all those tents in place before the rain began and set up the chairs. They were absolutely amazing. I want to give a big shout out to them because they really helped make the entire event. But as to the event itself, on Saturday, I told the crowd that Pride Day, for me, what makes me so proud, why it's Pride Day for me, is because I am so proud to be mayor of a community that celebrates its diversity with bouncy houses, hay rides, marching bands, a fair with 40 or 50 vendors, pride flags everywhere. It was magnificent. It was absolutely magnificent, and I want to thank Siobhan, because she was on the ground floor of this 7 years ago, getting this going for many, many years, and I was honored that she handed it off to me. And I want to thank the Ridgewood Guild. I want to thank the Ridgewood High School Marching Band. I want to thank all the singers. Chief Lyons was there. You know, this is what we hope all of America looks like. It was absolutely wonderful. And the rain, not only did it not dampen anyone's spirits, but, okay guys, here you go, here's the quiz. What comes at the end of the rain on a sunny day?
Rainbow.
Rainbow, baby. Rainbow came out at the end, and it was absolutely spectacular. I mean, it gave you chills, so it was really lovely. The next day, on Sunday, at the parking lot near McMurphy's, was the third annual Holi, H-O-L-I, festival, which is a holiday celebrated by the Indian community. It marks the beginning of spring. It signifies new beginnings. One of the things I love about it, it is a time for mending broken relationships. But it's that holiday that you may have seen in magazines or on TV where people are throwing colored powder over one another. It is so much fun. Putting aside that the food is amazing, this is just a time of wonderful, reckless family abandonment, That didn't come out right. Let me say that part again. Of reckless abandonment with families and people just having such a great time. It is absolutely wonderful. It was their third annual. I urge everyone to attend this next year. You will not be sorry. You're going to have so much fun. It's just wonderful. And I thank the Indian, Hindu, and Sikh communities who have brought this to our village and have brought so much color to our village by doing it. I also attended a community center advisory board meeting where currently they are planning on making a presentation on July 9th here at council chambers for expanding senior programs. I have been working very diligently with them. This is the challenge that I gave them and the Parks Department during our budget hearings, that we want the premier senior program in the area, and we have a great one. We want to make it even better, and I am very impressed with what they're working on. And finally, I attended a meeting last week, and it was called by about 25 residents who are concerned about crime in the whole North Jersey area, and they asked our Republican assemblymen and senators, Kristen Corrado, Al Barlas, and Krista Phillips, to attend, and those three come in packs. They are here whenever we ask them to be here. They help us with funding, they help us with programming, they help us with legislation, and they are our allies, our supporters, and I can't say enough about them. And that is my report for this evening. Shall we get on with our regular agenda, Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd like to call up Rich Calby, the Director of Ridgewood Water, to run through his portion of the agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Hello. I have 8 items tonight on the agenda. The first item is award of a contract for our Geographic Information System Software Support, or GIS. This is for a 3-year contract award of year 1. The contract runs from July to July of every year with a total contract price for the 3 years of $90,600 in an annual increment of $30,200 per year. Funding is accounted for in the water operating budget.
Questions?
The next item is the award of the PFAS treatment vessels for the Mountain PFAS Treatment Facility. In order to prevent delays, we procured an early purchase of the vessels before breaking ground on the 3 of the last 4 PFAS projects in order to avoid any delays. So this is the first of those 3. The Mountain facility is located in the Township of Wyckoff. A total of 2 bids were received on May 16th of 2025. The lowest bidder was Calgon Carbon Corporation, the amount of $245,340. And this is funded in the Ridgewood Water capital budget and will be paid through the New Jersey iBank. Just an update to the memo. It mentions that the treatment facility itself will be advertised by the end of May. We received approval from the iBank, and the project was advertised on June 6th with a bid opening scheduled for July 8th.
Questions? Let's go.
Next item is a similar purchase, procurement of the GAC treatment vessels. This is for the East Side Treatment Facility. This is located here in the village of Ridgewood. Again, 2 bids were received on May 16, 2025. The lowest bidder was Calgon Carbon Corporation, the amount of $303,523.00. This is also funded in the Ridgewood Water capital budget. Also an update to this memo, this project also received approval from the iBank, was advertised on May 29th with a bid opening scheduled for July 1st for the treatment facility itself.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Let's go.
And the third of the 3, the main GAC facility, this is located in the borough of Glen Rock. 2 bids were also received here on May 16th. The low bidder was also Calgon Carbon Corporation in the amount of $245,340.00, also funded out of the water capital budget. This project is still waiting one final approval from the iBank to give us authorization to advertise.
Everybody good?
Okay.
Let's
Yep.
go.
Next project is award of a contract for construction of bank stabilization for the 20-inch ductile iron pipe water main that exists along the Dunham Trail in the Hocus Brook. On Wednesday, April 30, 2025, 5 bids were received. The low responsible bidder was Colonelli in the amount of $347,100. This is funded out of the water capital budget. We anticipate seeking a reimbursement of $120,000 of that cost in FEMA funding that was already approved for the village. This project is necessary to support the existing main along the bank where it has eroded along Dunham Trail. The pipe is actually exposed, and I believe there's photographs attached that you could view. So 320 feet of the bank along the Hocus Brook will be restored to provide cover over that pipe and avoid any future damage of that pipe.
All good?
Well, I have a question. So you're going to cover up the pipe, and I assume that's with dirt, right?
Dirt and stones to prevent erosion.
Stones, okay. Will there be any plantings?
There'll be plantings probably along the trail, but not along the bank. It'll be a stone-hardened bank, similar to the other bank stabilization projects that have occurred.
So the stones, when I've seen them before, they're sort of on a vertical. They're on the
This is,
vertical
it's a slight,
So it'll have a
angle.
little bit of an incline, too?
it's steep,
Okay.
but it will be inclined, and it's various sizes. It starts with small stone and larger stones at the top.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a very good contractor, too.
Yes.
Good experiences there.
Good.
And it's much needed. That trail is
Oh,
disappearing.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will also help restore the path
Yeah.
at the same
Okay,
time.
that's great.
Next is the award of a partial award utilizing the Village of Ridgewood paving contract. When this project was bid out by the Village Engineering Department, they included items that were necessary for Ridgewood Water to utilize for paving restoration amongst the towns that Ridgewood Water serves. So this is for a partial award of not to exceed of $650,000, utilizing the same project bid and items and the same low bid contractor, J.A. Alexander. This is funded through the Ridgewood Water capital budget.
Everybody good? Yep. Let's go.
Sticking on the theme of paving, similarly to what we did last year, the Township of Wykoff has offered use of their paving contract. So this is also a recommendation of a partial award to Smith Sunday Asphalt under the Township of Wykoff bid. They also included items in their bid for the use of Ridgewood Water, and this is the amount not to exceed $125,000, also funded for the Ridgewood Water capital budget.
Good?
Yeah.
Next item is award of a professional service or public engagement content. For the past several months, Mr. Kazmark, myself, and the Director of Communications, Carol Bukowski, have been interviewing firms. The firm Media Cutlet was selected based on their experience and their proposal. They will produce a series of videos, site coverage, and worker testimonials to highlight the $150 million investment that has been made in PFAS, the lead service line replacement program, water conservation, and other infrastructure upgrades. The intent here is to educate the public on everything that Ridgewood Water is doing and how that work is done, because a lot of it is out of sight, out of mind. So the idea is over the course of June through October to provide a series of public content, videos, words, that will educate the public on everything that Ridgewood Water does and the investment that's been made in the system. This is the amount of $54,250, and this is funded in the water utility operating budget.
Everybody good?
I have questions. Is Carol involved? Because I think, I want to make sure she's comfortable with the length of the videos, what social media they'll be, optimized for, and what's the different ways.
I'm hoping Carol's going to run lead, because I have to worry about the $150 million, and she can worry about the communications.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just want to make sure that, it's all good.
Yeah, the three principals on this will be myself, Rich, and Carol.
Okay. Carol should lead.
Carol, Rich, and myself.
And this is the first time I'm seeing the outreach include videos. So
Yes.
I'm glad to see that, but I don't know what the term site coverage means. Could you explain that?
Site coverage is going to include such things as drone footage, live footage on the ground of work actually happening, like vessels being placed at the site, the building being constructed. Actually might interview some of the workers, about the work and how it's completed. And that'll be taken and made into very short clips that then could be combined and educate folks. Because I could just tell you by experience, I gave a tour to both the Ridgewood and Glen Rock Fire Department 2 weeks ago of the Prospect Treatment Plant in Glen Rock. And until you see it, you don't understand the breadth of what is being built. So this will allow people to see from their homes, on their computers, on their phones.
Awesome. Really
Yeah.
glad we're doing this.
Yeah, new and different.
Good. Thank you,
Thank
Rich.
you.
Okay, under the budget tonight, we have a recommendation for award of contract for the concession stand at the train station. As you know, since June of 2024, Boxcar has been at the site. They were awarded a 3-year contract to provide the concession at the train station with 2 options to renew for additional year for each option. The first year of the contract expires on June 9th, 2025, and the second year of the contract will be from June 10th, 25 through June 9th, 2026. There's a resolution for your consideration that you'll consider at next week's meeting, and the payment per month continues at a rate of $600.
Questions?
No, I just want to say, I think this is really will serve our residents well. Carolyn, who works at the Boxcar in the morning at the train station, it's like she knows everybody, and I just think it's great that we're continuing to work with them.
Yeah. No, the feedback has been very, very positive, so.
I think it's a wonderful service, and the fact that it's an asset and it has occupancy is valuable as well. And I'm going to make a joke. I remember their opening when Keith spilled a cup of coffee on me. It's hard to believe it was a year.
That did happen, and I think there's photographs to prove it, so. Moving on, the next item is the replacement of a vehicle for the recycling division. Sean Hamlin is making the recommendation that we move forward with the purchase of a 2025 Ford F-150 pickup truck. This truck will be utilized for special bulk and metal collection. It's being purchased under the New Jersey State contract through Route 23 Auto Mall, not to exceed the amount of $56,415, and this is a replacement vehicle.
Keith, I think you said a Ford, did you say 350?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And those don't come in hybrids, so I'm not going to ask you to look into that.
Correct.
Anyway, but next year they do.
I had the answer plan. That's true. New models. Also, to accompany that F-350 is the lift gate that's necessary. That's the next item on the agenda. This will be purchased through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program, one of our co-ops that we're a member of, not to exceed $4,650.
Good.
Next item on the agenda, back to the removal of the abandoned underground fuel storage tanks at the North Walnut parking lot. This change order is for the services of the licensed site remediation professional. Attached is the proposal from VHB Incorporated to provide additional professional environmental services related to this project. The amount of the change order also includes funds to pay for the effort incurred while the additional USTs were encountered. As you know, we continuously we're finding new tanks over in that parking lot. Chris is recommending the award of the professional environmental services for the removal of those tanks to our VHB in the amount of $75,185.29. I will also say that Laura, who is our representative from VHB, is also working on a reimbursement application. I reported out on this at a previous meeting. Our goal is to try to recuperate 75% of not only Laura's costs, but also of the actual project itself, the actual excavation and rehabilitation of that property. So she is working on that application as we speak to seek those reimbursement funds from the DEP.
Would that include the professional services?
It would.
Great.
Next item, I'd like to call up Dylan Hanson, our IT director, first to walk the council through what we experienced last Wednesday night, which led to the postponement of this meeting from Wednesday till tonight. He's been working closely with BIS, the sound engineer who was on site here, and then he's going to walk you through the revisit of the proposal that we discussed at a previous meeting, and I think Councilman Mortimer has some color to add to that as well. So, Dylan, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So last week, before every meeting, the IT department tests the mics before every meeting, make sure everything's functional, Zoom and everything. We came down here around 5 o'clock before the meeting, and we tested the mics, and only half of them were working. At that time, I let Keith aware of it and decided to move the meeting. The engineer came in on a Friday. We went through all the hardware and everything. The system seemed to be functioning, but it wasn't putting any output out. So we upgraded the latest firmware the company released for the system, which is about 3 years old because that's when they stopped making it. And we had to rebuild all the configuration files, and it came back online. So that's where we are right now with the current system. The one thing the engineer said to me, he's like, I can't get parts for this, so if anything else goes, it could be an issue. So that's where we left off. So we are up and running. Back to where we were, but yeah, that's what happened on Wednesday.
I
Any
just want to
questions?
re-emphasize what you said, which is that the current equipment in this room is so old, they don't make replacement parts. So if something breaks, we can't fix it.
And the other thing I want to mention is not only were half the microphones in this room down, but we had absolutely no output to Swagit or to the YouTube channel. So the inability to broadcast it out to the public takes away the hybrid access, takes away the ability for folks to watch the meeting from home, which is why after conferring with the mayor, we made the decision to postpone the meeting till tonight.
Yes.
So I'm going to jump in here. So I came by on Friday. I spoke directly with a technician that was here in the room. So then I also followed up and spoke to 2 other individuals who work at the company to understand the needs of this room as well as what we're getting. So the main, for you, Mayor, I promise not to go too deep into the technical stuff, but the
Kindergarten level.
the thing that was interesting is how they all spoke of how this room is difficult. Like our main contact said that in Jersey, this is probably one of the toughest rooms that he has because I'm pointing at the ceiling of how it's arced. So we had some discussion about, well, what if we got different mics? What if we had longer cords on them? And the significant fact that I heard was that our system is so old that currently the microphones up here are not at full power. They're at a fraction of their sensitivity. Otherwise, we'll get feedback. And so no matter what microphones we would have up here, we still wouldn't be able to turn them up to where they should be. And what's interesting is these mics are rated to be best at 10 inches to a foot away. So for us to be so close, like the tech's eyes were popping out when I was telling them how close that we had to stand. So the other thing, so what we're mainly paying for will be these digital sound processors, which that's the brain, that's the computer that will run the system. And so what that can do is that they're going to zone out this room into 4 different zones so that in the back can be louder than here in the front. And then because the sound processor can also block noise and echo and things like that, we'll be able to use our microphones at full capacity. So to me, that's the bulk of it, right? Is the computers essentially, as well as the software that runs it. The hardware that we're getting, as Dylan has said, is 2 speakers in the back, so zone 4 can be the loudest. And then because things tend to grow, right? How many times have we had to go back and reissue? So I said, okay, so worst case, if this doesn't work, what will we most likely need? And they said speakers. So if you look at the form, speakers are $800 a pair. So to me, that since our current equipment can't be replaced or fixed, 2, that this is such a significant upgrade that we will be able to use any microphone at its full capacity, as well as we won't get feedback from any the other speakers. This makes perfect sense to me. Any questions for Dylan and I?
I assume we have some sort of guarantee that this will work. In other words, I don't want to spend all this money, come back in, and then have people complaining they can't hear us still. So how confident are we that these folks are going to get this right, and what is our recourse if they don't get it right?
And Evan, that's what I asked, and so they're engineers, so an engineer is always going to tell you that nothing's a guarantee. That's why I said, okay, so if it doesn't work, what are we going to have to do? And then they said, well, we get more speakers. Speakers is $800. So if they don't, quote, get it right, then we're looking at more speakers.
Okay. And why are we spending $7,000 on training?
That's,
That's really, I'm kind of struggling with that. I mean, the hardware here is like 16,000, right? And we're spending 7,000 on just training.
so it's actually the training and installation. I meant to put install.
Oh, okay. So it's the training plus the
So
actual.
yeah, that's the
physically
4
coming
days
in.
they're going to be here. So on my Excel
No,
spreadsheet,
that
it got
makes
cut
sense.
off.
That's good. Listen, this kills me. Like to spend like this type of money on like something like a sound system, but the point that the current system doesn't work and can't be fixed, I find that meaningful. Do we have an idea how long this system should be good for? I mean, is this like a 10-year system, a 20-year system?
So when I first started here, the first system we got about 8 to 10 years out of, and this system we've gotten about 10 years out of. So, and for a room that's used for planning board, zoning board, council meetings, court, it's a heavily used room.
And this equipment and software is brand spanking new. It's the latest technology, so that should help carry us into the future as well.
And
it
the other thing
supports-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It supports the clerk's office because, so I just want to say, I think this is so great. I'm grateful that Frank took the time. All of us had the opportunity, and Frank really hustled and provided a lot of information. Engagement is a critical part of what we do. I imagine for the court and the clerk, accuracy is incredibly important, and nobody likes to spend money, but this is money well spent, because if we can't create a record, or we create a bad record, or we miss a moment to engage, and let's be honest, the moment we're missing the most is the public engagement of the public who motivates here. I think it's money well spent, and thank you to you both for spending the time. I mean, I'm ready to vote. I think anything we can do to improve this process. I mean, Pam and I used to suffer as observers with the League of Women Voters. It's gotten better, but it could be great. And I think this is great, and hopefully they don't come back with $800 of speakers, but we have to improve it.
Yeah, I want to thank Dylan and Frank, because, look, we've struggled with this at virtually every meeting that we've had, so it's not an occasional problem. Thank you both. I think we're in good shape on this.
Thank you, Dylan.
What's the timing? When do we get this?
It's 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks? Okay.
Yeah, he's going to work.
And four days of installation, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to do it where there's a gap between meetings, and I'll talk to court about seeing if they can either relocate for one of the weeks or so on. But we should have a nice period of time to install everything.
Great.
Good?
And Evan and I are available as the most difficult test subjects. We'll come in.
Yeah,
Glad to
they'll
have you.
look at each other talking to see
And
how
we'll
this
mumble
thing
for
works.
you.
Good. Thank you very much, Dylan.
The next item on the agenda under policy is authorization, place-to-place transfer of liquor license, expansion of premises at Steel Wheel. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. The next item is a memorandum from engineering with regard to the New Jersey Department of Transportation Municipal Aid Grant for 2026. This year, engineering is applying for the project titled West Ridgewood Avenue Road Resurfacing. Runs from the Central Business District west to the municipal line at Midland Park. West Ridgewood Avenue is the primary access road for Ridge School, as we know. The work will also include construction of compliant ADA ramps along the route where they are not present currently. Engineer's estimate for the cost of the project is $679,000. As part of the application process, it requires a governing body resolution, which is attached.
Good?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, the next item is the annual renewal of the liquor licenses through the clerk's office. They're listed there in the memorandum from Heather. Questions?
No, I do want to say I did call Heather, and she answered all my questions, and I believe we only have one pocketed on the distribution side. So the
Yes.
consumption's out, and then that's kind of great, too.
I don't quite understand how we have 7 distribution licenses. Liquor stores, I counted like 3, and there are 7 here, it says.
Well, one of the ones that
The
is pocketed.
supermarkets.
One of the ones that's
The
pocketed.
supermarkets that sell liquor
Yeah.
are also licensed.
Right, so there's Stop and Shop, there's Green Market. Does Whole Foods sell liquor?
I don't know.
No,
I don't think
Ridgewood.
so now I count two. I don't know
Well,
whether.
and liquor
There's-
stores.
Liquor stores.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Like-
I count three liquor stores, that's five.
We can, why don't we have Heather circulate the full list of the
I-
licenses to the
That's
council
such a good
tomorrow.
idea.
I have the
That's
list,
great.
but
Such a good,
Thank
because
you.
this
Pam-
was not a good
So-
use
Yep.
of time.
And-
Jennifer,
you're-
when you guys get in at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning to start open up the polling sites,
Well, I
if
was
you
gonna
wouldn't
say, I
mind,
can do site
if
visits
you wouldn't
on
mind
behalf
sending
of
out
the
the
village.
full list of liquor
Yeah,
licenses
I'll
to
do
the
site
council.
visits.
Yeah,
And-
Evan and I volunteer to
Very
go to
good.
all 7.
Wait.
And
But
Jen,
wait.
Make
if
sure
you
they're
can
in
get
good-
that to us by 5 a.m. so that it doesn't interfere with the rest of your day.
You guys, one of them is pocketed on the distribution side.
Right,
That's
we know
Harding's old one.
Okay,
right,
let's
right.
move on.
All right.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call Carol Balkowski, our Director of Communications and Special Projects, up to walk us through the memorandum on the proposed grant application for the replacement of the bus station at Van Ness Square. She's direct from a meeting across the hall with the Historic Preservation Commission on this, so well-versed on the topic. But Cal, you want to walk us through the memorandum, and then we'll answer any questions that the council
Sure.
may have.
Welcome,
evening.
Carol.
Thank you. Good evening. So we are working with our grant writing folks, Millennium Strategies, to apply for a this is a mouthful, local transportation project funds grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation in the amount of $100,000 for the purchase and the installation of a custom bus shelter at Van Ness Square. And I did attach a photograph of the custom shelter. Unfortunately, they did not have the size. This is a rectangular size, but ours that we're proposing would be 12 by 12. And
So-
it would also include, it'd be aluminum and tempered glass, and it would feature custom stonework at the base, iron benches, 6-foot-long iron benches with a central armrest, which is what the benches are like in the CBD, and solar-powered lighting and a historically appropriate cupola on top, as well as proposed plantings, planters, trees, just to make that area more of a destination. And when I was just talking with HPC, HPC, by the way, did recommend this vendor, Handy Hut. They've been in business for over 50 years, and they are local in Clifton, and extremely attentive and kind of cheap installation and delivery because, you know, they're so local. And basically, we can discuss, HPC had some questions, and we can just customize everything, talk about all the finishes. But what they described, which I didn't realize until just speaking with them, is that this could be an opportunity for us to kind of create like a little tourist bureau kind of thing, like, you know, that you see on the highway, where we could have a cling designed and have beautiful typeface, historically appropriate, welcome to Ridgewood. Stacy Tsapasara said we could have a QR code linked to the bus schedule so that we don't have to have an antiquated, outdated paper sign out there. Have another QR code that leads to our events page on the website, because since COVID, everybody's used to a QR code, and we could just really make this space just a very welcoming introduction for people to Ridgewood. And they were very excited about it. They just like to see, have some questions answered and see a few more details. But this is all the information that we would need to present to apply for the grant.
Questions?
Yeah, so how, the stone bottom, how tall is that?
So that's actually under debate currently.
Oh, good.
Engineering and the police department, we're facilitating that discussion. The police department is requesting that it be somewhat lower to the ground, so that they could see if someone was laying on the floor level.
That's exactly why I brought it up, because
Right.
when the one that we tore down, one of the reasons I was in favor of tearing it down was because that too had a wall, which I felt was a safety issue.
Mhm.
And so I look at this, and that's my only concern with it in the stone corners, if, like you said, if someone's laying down. So
Yeah, so
having-
engineering and PD, we're having a dialogue about that. That won't inhibit us from submitting the grant application, but as we finalize the design and some of the more aesthetic aspects of it, we're taking that into consideration.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm not trying to slow down the application.
No, and it wouldn't slow down but we've had 2 meetings about this, and it's come up at both meetings, and Chief Lyons is pretty direct about the visibility into the new building.
Excellent.
And,
go ahead.
and the wonderful thing about that is that the installer, they don't do the custom stonework, so we would hire a mason and we would just be fully in control of HPC was called the color of the stone, the type of stone, that it blends in with the other stone that's in the area as well as the height.
Yeah, I'm more just concerned with the safety. And Keith, is there any way I could be part of any future of those conversations?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well.
And then Carol,
Well, you know.
my last question was, is there anything similar that we could see an actual picture of one of their facilities? I'm just curious with the stone.
You know,
on it.
Isn't that what this is?
No, this looks like a
This was
rendition
the
to me.
best.
No, this
I
is,
think
this,
it's-
we'll forward you this in color, Frank. This is an actual picture
Got
of
it.
one of the facilities that they sell. The only difference is the design that they
Ours is a
have
square.
sent us is rectangular. Ours will be 12 by 12, but the design will be the
Do
same.
they have any squares that we could see?
No, I asked them. The squares that they have are like plastic, like not like this, not like a
Got it.
But to be
custom
clear,
shelter
this is
like this.
just to authorize the grant application. Can you bring us back the final rendering? Are we going to have to vote on the actual final version of it, or is that something that we're
Right now, I'm concerned about getting the grant. And,
That's what I'm saying. So the
and
grant's
we're,
going
we're
through.
still
Okay.
we're still working through the security piece of this and
Well, that's
making
my
sure-
point, is that in order to short circuit this conversation, if this is just about the grant, let's just approve this and maybe agree that when you guys do have a final design,
We'll bring it back to you.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So
And
I just want to jump in. We've met with everybody who had a stakeholder. The last group that's going to see it is Pam's group. So and I've been at all the meetings, and everyone's been debating back and forth. So Shade Tree weighed in on the trees that were there. We met with police, engineering, parks, everybody. So this vendor, if you look at the final page for the grant, we have to show the layout. And we even left a placeholder for a potential bathroom, future use, but we needed to get it approved by HPC and here in order for it to go forth.
And HPC had some additional questions this evening, so there's going to be more discussion about this. Right now, I'm strongly recommending we approve the
Yes.
Yeah.
resolution
Let's
to
do that
place the
and
grant
move on.
into consideration with the DOT.
Great.
Can I
have
say one
several
more thing?
questions,
Oh, go ahead.
But I'll hold them for another time. But could you bring color copies to the CBDAC meeting
Yes.
to hand out? Thank you.
And
Council-
Pam, when are you going
Councilmember
to
Mortimer,
announce that?
wanted to just tell you also, one
This
thing
Thursday?
that is also going to include is security cameras. Chief Lyons really wanted that to be part of it, is a camera inside the shelter, as well as a camera somewhere from
Got
a
it.
distance focusing on the shelter. And the quote is a little bit fluid right now because we didn't receive the quote from the vendor until late on Friday after Heather had given you your packets. So that will be included in the grant application.
Thanks, Carol, and thanks for getting this grant.
Yeah, and by the way, I know this will be tweaked, but this looks pretty good so far to me, I
Yeah.
have to say. This is very, very nice. And I assume that in your title of Director of Communications and Special Projects, this is the latter portion of that title.
I didn't ask about what special projects would entail in my interview, but.
But now you know.
Now I know.
Well, now you
All
know
exciting.
so far.
The title was chosen strategically. Mayor, that concludes our portion of the agenda.
Great.
Carol, I just wish you get the grant back in as fast as time as you did the hearing room.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
And with that, let's return to public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood. With respect to the bus shelter, just a reminder, and it comes, I think, at an appropriate time, there was just an accident over at the Board of Education Administrative Offices, which had a transformer right next to a parking lot. You have this structure that you're planning to erect right next to a parking lot. Of course, the parking lot's right there, right next to the bus shelter. So the For some reason, the Board of Education didn't have any bollards around this transformer that was knocked out. So I just encourage you to be thinking about the fact that you've got this structure right next to a parking lot and to take some precautions to ensure that if a car should back up like what happened at the Board of Education, it doesn't go right through the structure, particularly since you're talking about making it aluminum and glass. So just beware of that. Another thing I'd like to mention is that the manager said in his remarks tonight, make sure you turn off your sprinklers when it is raining. May I remind the council that Code 269-48 requires that everyone who has an automatic sprinkler system, irrigation system in the Village of Ridgewood has an automatic rain sensor attached to that system so that if it rains 1/4 inch, it automatically shuts the system down. Obviously, this is not in force. There are people who I see the sprinklers going in the middle of rainstorms. I don't know what we can do to start to enforce the way that people use these sprinkler systems. It's a pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry I keep repeating this, but people are watering lawns on days that they're not supposed to be watering lawns when it's raining out, when they're supposed to have automatic rain sensors that shut it off. My guess is that they've disabled it. So we have to start doing, in my opinion, a better job of enforcing the requirements of irrigation systems. That is, that they only be used on the days that they are supposed to be used, and all of the devices that are supposed to be associated with these systems are in place. There was an award about resurfacing and repair of streets. There were some mistakes made when the water mains went in, and there's some puddling in various places. Hopefully, the taxpayers aren't paying to have a mistake fixed if it was the mistake of the person who did the paving. So I'm not sure where this repair work is taking place. I know I mentioned a couple of times the intersection of Grove Street and South Irving Street has got a huge puddling problem. That is a fault of the contractor, in my opinion. Hopefully, we're not paying the contractor to repair something that he or she messed up. That would be a waste of money. And one last thing, there was some mention made of the concession stand at the train station. Can we get an update on what the story is with the taxi stand? I understand that the lease is a 2-year lease. He paid for 1 year. There's some question about whether he was going to pay for the 2nd year or walk away from the situation, just if the taxpayers could then update on that. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Boyd. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and entertain a resolution to go into closed session.
I just wanted to add.
Excuse me, I always forget. Forgive
We-
me, I'm so sorry.
When we did discuss the bus station, bollards were discussed with the police station, and the aesthetic that they were looking for were black bollards to prevent a vehicle. So the police were on that and making the recommendations.
And with regard to the taxi stand, I believe that the tenant is or was overseas, and I believe that engineering is having a meeting with him in short order to determine the status and how we're going to move forward.
But they did pay 2 years in full, yes? They're paid? One?
Anybody else? Now, we will entertain a resolution to go into closed session.
Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on June 9th, 2025 at 7:30 PM or as soon thereafter as the matter of the agenda can be reached. And that said, closed session be held in the caucus room on the 4th floor of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to personnel matters to include consultant for Warner Theater and legal matters to include Bergen County JIF Flood Risk Control Program and Burrak versus Village of Ridgewood. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec. And be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry. They said that the guy didn't pay for 2 years. I wasn't sure.
Let's go down there.
My phone out of there. Use the bathroom.